Now we are moving for part C. So in part C, the first question is the 20th question. Explain the implementation of lexical analyzer. So lexical analysis is the first phase of a compiler. It takes the modified source code from a language processes that are written in the form of sentences. The lexical analyzer breaks these syntaxes into a series of tokens by removing any white spaces or comments in the source code. If the lexical analyzer finds a token invalid, it generates an error. The lexical analyzer works closely with the syntax analyzer. It reads character streams from the source code, checks for legal tokens, and passes the data to the syntax analyzer when it demands. So the above explanation is shown in the diagram below. So in the diagram you can find out the source code on the left, which is given as input to the lexical analyzer. Before it is given to lexical analyzer, leximes are created from the source code. Then the lexical analyzer finds out the token. The tokens are given as input to syntax analyzer. So the syntax analyzer will request the token from the lexical analyzer, and based on the request, the tokens will be moved to the syntax analyzer. Tokens. So leximes are said to be a sequence of characters alphanumeric in a token. There are some predefined rules for every lexeme. In programming languages, keywords, constant, identifiers, strings, numbers, operators, and punctuation symbols can be considered as tokens. For example, in C language, the variable declaration line int value equal to 100 contains the following tokens. Int is the keyword, value is the identifier, equal to is the operator, 100 is the constant, and symbol. So next is the specification of tokens. Let us understand how the language theory understands the following terms. Strings. Any finite sequence of alphabets is called a string. Special symbol. A typical high-level language contains the following symbols. Arithmetic symbols. It has the addition, subtraction, modulo, multiplication, and division. Punctuation, comma, semicolon, dot, arrow, etc. Assignment is equal to, and assignment, special assignment, plus or equal to, division or equal to, star equal to, underscore equal to. Comparison, equal to, not equal to, less than equal to, greater than, and greater than equal to. So preprocessor, hash symbol, location specifier, ampersand symbol, logical, ampersand, double ampersand, pipe symbol, double pipe, and exclamatory. Shift operator, double greater than, and etc. Language. A language is considered as a finite set of strings over some finite set of alphabets. Computer languages are considered as finite sets, and mathematical set operations can be performed on them. So longest match rule. When the lexical analyzer reads the source code, it scans the code letter by letter, and when it encounters a white space, operator symbol, or special symbols, it decides that a word is completed. The longest match rule says that the lexeme scanned should be determined based on the longest match among all the tokens available. The lexical analyzer also follows rule priority when a reserved word, example, a keyword of a language is given priority over user input. That is, if the language analyzer finds a lexeme that matches with any existing reserved word, it should generate an error. So now we are moving to the 21st question in part C. Illustrate concept-free grammar. So definition of context-free grammar. It consists of a finite set of grammar rules in quadruple. So in bracket we are writing capital N, capital T, capital P, capital S, where capital N is a set of non-terminal symbols, capital T is a set of terminals, where N union T equal to null. P is a set of rules, P such that N gives N union T star. That is the left hand side of the production rule. P does not have any right context or left context, and S is the start symbol. Example is shown below. Generation of derivation tree. A derivation tree or parse tree is an ordered rooted tree that graphically represents the semantic information a string derived from a context-free grammar. So representation technique, it has root vertex and leaves. A root vertex must be labeled by the start symbol, vertex labeled by a non-terminal symbol, and leaves labeled by a terminal symbol or sigma. Epsilon. If S gives x1, x2, etc. xn is a production rule in a context-free grammar, then the parse tree derivation tree will be as follows, which is given in the below diagram. It consists of capital S in the first level as root node, and in the next level we are having x1, x2, etc. xn. There are two different approaches to draw a derivation tree. Top-down approach starts with the starting symbol S, goes down to the leaves using productions. And next one is bottom-up approach, starts from the tree leaves, proceeds upwards to the root with the starting symbol S. Derivation or yield of a tree. The derivation of the or yield of a parse tree is the final string obtained by constructing the labels of the leaves of the tree from left to right, ignoring the nulls. However, if all the leaves are null, derivation is null. So example, let a context-free grammar n, t, p, s, b, and s gives ss gives as, bs, which gives abs, which gives aba, sb, which gives ab, aa, sbb, derives ab, aa, bb. So for the above example, the diagram is given below. So for the above example, the diagram is given below. We are searching for the diagram. So this is a diagram for that. So in this diagram, what will happen is we are having different levels, and everything will consist of this root node S in the first level. The second level we are having the start symbol, and in the third level we are having ASB and ASB and so on. And next is sentential form and partial derivation tree. A partial derivation tree is a subtree of a derivation tree parse tree such that either all of its children are in the subtree or none of them are in the subtree. It's also given in the below diagram. Leftmost and rightmost derivation of a string. Leftmost derivation. The leftmost derivation is obtained by applying production to the leftmost variable in each step. And next one is rightmost derivation. A rightmost derivation is obtained by applying production to the rightmost variable in each step. And for that example is given below. And these are all the diagrammatical representation for the steps which are given. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5 and etc. And furthermore more examples are given which you can find out in the diagram. Next we are moving for the next question in parse, that is 22nd. Explain shift reduce parsing. Shift reduce parsing is a process of reducing a string to the start symbol of a grammar. Shift reduce parsing uses a stack to hold the grammar and an input tape to hold the string. A string is reduced to the starting symbol. At each reduction, the symbols will replaced by the non-terminal. The symbol is the right side of the production and the non-terminal is the left side of the production. So example grammar is given below, and input string, parse table, etc. are given. So this is the parse table. So the parse table consists of three fields: stack content, input string, and actions. So we are starting with the dollar symbol, and we are putting all the information in the corresponding fields, and we are reducing, and finally finding we are reducing that to the dollar symbol. So there are two main categories of shift reduce parsing as shown: operator precedence parsing and LR parser. Next we are moving to this next question, 23rd question of part C. Describe the contents of a symbol table. A symbol table is an important data structure created and maintained by compilers in order to store information about the occurrence of variables entries such as variable names, function names, objects, classes, interfaces, etc. Symbol table is used by both the analysis and the synthesis parts of a compiler. A symbol table may serve the following purpose depending upon the language in hand: to store the names of all entries in a structured form at one place, to verify if a variable has been declared, to implement type checking by verifying assignments and expressions in the source code are semantically correct, to determine the scope of a name. If a compiler is to handle a small amount of data, then the symbol table can be implemented as an unordered list, which is easy to code, but it is only suitable for small tables only. A symbol table can be implemented in one of the following ways: linear, binary search tree, and hash table. So operations: symbol table, either linear or hash, should follow the following operations. Insert operation. The operation is more frequently used by analysis phase. The next one is lookup. Lookup operation is used to search a name in the symbol table to determine the following: if the symbol table exists in the table, if it is declared before it is used, and so on. The next one is scope management. A compiler maintains two types of symbol tables: a global symbol table, which can be accessed by all the procedures, and scope symbol table that are created for each scope in the program. So diagrammatical representation for the above explanation is given below, which you can find in the diagram. This symbol table data structure hierarchy is stored in the semantic analyzer, and whenever a name needs to be searched in symbol table, it is searched using the following algorithm. First, a symbol will be searched in the current scope, that is current symbol table. If a name is found, then search is completed, else it will be searched in the parent symbol table until either the name is found or global symbol table has been searched for the name. Next, we are coming for the last question in part C. Describe loop optimization. So loop optimization is most valuable machine independent optimization because programmer inner loop takes bulk of the time of a programmer. If you decrease the number of instructions in an inner loop, then the running time of a program may be improved, even if you increase the amount of code outside the loop. For loop optimization, the following three techniques are important. Number 1, code motion. Number 2, induction variable elimination. Number 3, strength reduction, and etc. And in code motion, it is used to decrease the amount of code in loop. This transformation takes a statement or expression which can be moved outside the loop body without affecting the semantics of the program. For example, in the while statement, the limit to equation is the loop invariant equation, which is shown below in the diagram. Next one is induction variable elimination. Induction variable elimination is used to replace variable from inner loop. It can reduce the number of additions in a loop. It improves both code space and runtime performance, which we can find out in the given diagram below. Here we are having different blocks B1, B2, two B1 blocks and two B2 blocks, and we are also having three B3 blocks, two B4 blocks and two B5 blocks, and we are having before and after situations for everything. In this figure, we can replace the assignment T4 is assigned to 4 star j by T4 is assigned to T4 minus 4. The only problem which will be aroused that T4 does not have a value when we enter block B2 for the first time. So we place a relation T4 equal to 4 star j on entry to the block B2. So next is reduction in strength. Strength reduction is used to replace the expensive operation by the cheaper one on the target machine. Addition of constant is cheaper than a multiplication, so we can replace multiplication with an addition within the loop. Multiplication is cheaper than exponentiation, so we can replace exponentiation with multiplication within the loop. And example for that is given in below diagram. Next we are moving for the 25th question. Illustrate notes on code generation for DAG in part C. Code generation can be considered as the final phase of compilation. Through post-code generation, optimization process can be applied on the code, but that can be seen as part of code generation phase itself. We should carry the exact meaning of the source code. We should be efficient in terms of CPU usage and memory management. We will now see how the intermediate code is transformed into a target object code. So directed acyclic graph. So it is abbreviated as DAG. It's a tool that depicts the structure of basic blocks, helps to see the flow of values flowing among the basic blocks, and offer optimization too. DAG provides easy transformation on basic blocks. DAG can be understood here using leaf nodes represent identifiers, names or constants. Interior node represents operators. Interior nodes also represent the results of expressions. So below example shows those things. And next one is people optimization. This optimization technique works locally on the source code to transform it to an optimized code. Redundant instruction elimination. At source code level, the following can be done by the user. So the example is given below. At compilation level, the compiler searches for instruction redundant in nature. Multiple loading and storing of instructions may carry the same meaning even if some of them are removed. For example, move x, r0, move r0, r1. Unreachable code. Unreachable code is a part of the program code that is never accessed because of programming constructs. Programmers may have accidentally written a piece of code that can never be reached. Flow of control optimization. There are instances in a code where the program control jumps back and forth without performing any significant task. Algebraic expression specification. Next one is strength reduction. And the next technique is accessing machine instructions. Next one is code generator. The code generator is expected to have an understanding of the target machine's runtime environment and its instruction set. The code generator should take the following things into consideration to generate the code: target language, IR type, selection of instruction, register allocation, and ordering of instructions. With this, we are completing the part C section.